So today we continue to learn about non-anger and non-ignorance. Whenever we are in touch with the non-ignorance in us, then we can say that I am able to be in touch with nirvana, because non-anger or non-anger is a state where it's very calm and cool. And one of the descriptions of nirvana is a state where it's very cool. There's no heat. Don't say that nirvana is something so far away that we cannot be in touch. But if we want to, we can be in touch with nirvana. Nirvana is made up of these elements called faith and it's made of, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that part right. So Thay said this nirvana is made up the elements out of birth and death and out of suffering. So don't go looking for nirvana somewhere outside of birth and death and outside of suffering. It is with these elements of birth and death and suffering that we're able to generate nirvana. Just like rice. Rice, you can create rice from the non-rice elements. The ground that we feel, the ground, even though it has a lot of pebbles and rocks, if we farm it, we can create rice. So these qualities in us, we can generate nirvana. So this in Buddhism, we always say that nirvana, birth and death are not two. So do not divide them into two. A field that is empty and cold, we can transform this field into a field full of yellow rice and full of flowers. Even before that, we do not see the color of the yellow ripe rice. And so we say, there is no rice here. But if we look deeply with the eyes of observation, then we can see that there is on that field the color of the rice. And we know how to manifest that color of the rice. So nirvana is the same. It's made from the elements of birth and death and of suffering. A practitioner is someone who knows how to create these elements of birth and death and of suffering, and use that to create nirvana. So when a practitioner came and asked me, like, Thay, where do I find the non-birth, non-death? Where can I go find non-birth, non-death? And I answer, you should find the non-birth and non-death right in birth and death. It's very clear. It's very simple. And this is not a theory. We have this mental formations of sadness and resentment. And don't think that now to have happiness, I have to throw this sadness and anger outside of me, just like the surgery in the Western society. If you don't want anything, you just cut them out. But the better way is to transform them. To transform through your own observations and through your own daily life. So we generate nirvana through the elements of birth and death, and through the elements of suffering and affliction. So we do not need to cut anything out, throw them away. Just like a good gardener, So all the trash and compost, he keeps it. So, and because he knows he can transform these trash and compost into fertilizer to feed the vegetable and the fruits. So non-ignorance is a state of coolness and with no fever or heat that we can give as a gift for ourselves. And this is one of the basic conditions for happiness, non-anger and non-desire. A successful practitioner is someone who has this reservoir of non-delusions and um, non-greed, non-desire. So Yin, you have to uh, practice this when there is ignorance, is the absence of understanding. We get angry because we do not understand. This is something that is so simple. We get angry because we don't understand. When a baby is very stubborn, or when a baby or a kid become a gangster, then we often have this tendency to get angry or hate. But if we look again very deeply, we can see that this kid is like this is because the kid was born and grew up and was trained, taught in a certain environment with certain methods. So then that kids become like that because all the bad seeds and unwholesome seeds were water, but yet the good seeds and in the kid was never nourished at all. So if you look at a kid and you say that you are a useless person, you're worthless, then we have added to this education of this kid, and but we so when we each of us will all have these beautiful seeds, wholesome seeds within us, and and when we say that this person, we see this person, and we say that we don't see the good seeds, and we say that you are a useless person. So that means we have talked out of our ignorance, and because of our ignorance, we become cruel. We don't want to be cruel, but we don't see that we are ignorant and delusional. So that's why we say these things. We say that you are someone who's irresponsible, that you are a imposter, you're fake, and you're not able to do anything. Then at that time we know I have talked very unskillfully and I have harmed the other person. Maybe that person might have some moments where they were not honest. And maybe they have some moments that show this person's not able to do something. But that does not mean this person, their whole life, forever, permanently zero, like worthless. So a smart educational program is the education that can recognize the wholesome, the good qualities in a kid. So that's why we're able to be in touch and encourage and help nourish these seeds, these positive seeds to grow. And those positive seeds growing, then the negative seeds will be less strong and slowly they get transformed. So when you are craving for something, the sensual desires, or when we get angry and resentful. That is because we have not developed the seeds of compassion and kindness and the seeds of happiness and non-desire within us. We haven't developed these because we haven't broken through this block of ignorance and delusion within us. So when we are in touch with the seeds of ignorance in us, we see that we whole embrace the seed, recognize it, and transform the seed of ignorance. This is a very important practice. Let me give you an example. And this can be applied to all situations. For example, this is us. And here is the aspect, it's called the psyche. In our psyche, there's the upper part and the lower part. And the upper part and the lower part, they have these differences. Sometimes they can oppose each other. Don't think that we is an entity that is uniform. We have these very different elements that combine together within our soul. Sometimes we have, with one object, we can both love and we can both hate at the same time. It's not just that we love that person only, but we can love and hate them at the same time. There are these kids who are very afraid of ghosts, but yet very love to listen to ghost stories. These two things can go together. When we see something, or we hear someone say something, and that goes right into our senses, our eyes, our ears, and it touch into our mind, into our perceptions. And when it touch into our perceptions, then suddenly we have this judgment, a kind of judgment, a reaction, instant reaction. And that reaction is the reaction of this upper part only, but yet we think that this is a reaction of everything, of all of our consciousness. But the upper part and the lower part, sometimes they're opposing each other a lot. And if you are someone who's quick with your words and quick in your speaking, and you speak too fast, then we can react right away. And that reaction goes back out without waiting for any moments, any seconds. It's like a ball you throw into the wall, and the wall push the ball right back out. So in us, we all have that tendency. Some have more, some have less of that tendency, but each of us have this tendency to react right away. And we think that reaction is because of the whole of our psyche, but we don't realize that that is just a reaction of just one small part of our psyche. So we call that this is strong opinions. It might not be our true opinions. Opinions or stance. This is my stance, but it might not be my true stance. Because something we might just hear that it might be different from what we we want. It might feel like it's unpleasant and it's not in accordance with our thinking or our situation. So that's why we don't accept that. We don't accept and we react right away. That is in situations, the negative part. But sometimes if in a positive situation, we hear something and we agree with and we like that and we allow that to fall into us. But it does not fall into us very deeply. And we react right away and we say, oh, you said that, what you say is so true, so correct, but both of us might be wrong. Both the person who say it can be wrong and the person who listen could be wrong. Both sides could be wrong. But yet we think that we have this right, the stance of righteousness, this right stance. And if this person say something in accordance to our stance, then we accept this could be harmful. So in this first situation is when we hear something and we react right away. This can be harmful. Down here we have the seeds of anger, of irritation. And these seeds, they always have their ambassador up there. Anger, irritation, and feeling less than or more superior than someone. They all have their representations at the surface. So on the surface of our consciousness, when we hear something or see something and receive something, then we often react in a very shallow way. We think that all of these on the surface, they represent the whole of our psyche. Buddha has taught us a way to listen. Buddha talked about psyche, about deep listening. The way that we listen is often very foolish. When we hear something and this upper part, it see that, oh, it is in accordance to me, then we nod our head and we say, oh, you are so right. But in that situation, we do not learn anything new because we already know it. And then we just say, approve and say that, oh, you're right. And in the case of someone say something different, opposing from what's up here, then we say, no, you're wrong. And then we push the ball back out. In that situation, we don't learn anything. So listening like this is useless. Or accepting something that we think is correct, or we denying that something is not correct. So in these two situations, listening like this is useless. So even if you hear the Buddha's Dhamma talk, it's still useless. So the students of the Buddha is called listener. So it's called Thanh Văn in Buddhism. So it means the people who listen to the Buddha's teaching and learn. And how does the students How do the students of the Buddha listen? If you just listen in these ways, even if it's 40, 45 years, then it's still useless. So we have to find a different way to listen. It's called deep listening. In each of us, there's those who might react very fast. Some of us. And because of this very fast reaction, sometimes it can be useful, but sometimes it's not useful. It can harm us. Because this quick response does not allow us to have this chance to receive deeply what is being said, have been said, or what you have seen, or being seen, or have just seen. As we're not talking about our reaction too fast, so that reaction does not reflect the depth of us. If we react too fast, then that reaction only reflect the very upper shallow part of ourselves. Maybe it's our lower depth. It might be different, the opposing. At the depth, we might have a much deeper insight than the what's on the surface. Sometimes at the bottom, at the depth, we might have more jewels than above. Sometime at the bottom, we might have more poisons than above. This is something we need to look deeply. Below here is called the alaya, store consciousness. A lot of jewels that we don't know how to use, and a lot of poisons. But because we live without mindfulness, we might use the poison more than the jewels. We have to talk about this before we go any further. So we might be a 5 or 7 years old, and we starting to know how to think. In the beginning, we first get jealous of newborn brothers because our mom spent 100% of her energy onto the newborn baby. So we get jealous and we get angry at our younger brother. We get angry at our mom. This is something whoever has been an older brother or sister all know about this. But the mom always said, no, this is your brother. This your younger brother is still small, so I have to take care of the baby more than you. So in the brain of the 5 or 7 years old, I can see that and know that this is my younger sibling. And my mom has to take care 100% of her time into this young baby, still very young. So I should not be angry at the baby. This is something we learn from the surface, but it does not go down all the way. So that seeds of jealousy is still there. So the mom always have to remind you, this is your younger brother. This is not a stranger. So when mom keeping repeating like this, then it helps. But without the reminders, then the seeds of jealousy is still there. Sometimes the upper part of our psyche, it can go further than the below part. Could be 3 to 5 to 7 years faster. There are things that we have been able to resolve at the upper surface, but the lower depth we have not been able to resolve yet. Just like a baby, a kid who have been reminded by the mom about this, that this is my my younger brother, this is baby's your brother. We should not get jealous, even if this been reminded by the mom. But yet in the dream, the brother, but we can still have the dream and we still get jealous with our younger baby because of our mom. Because back then we were like 100% the attentions and the being spoiled by the mom, but now we are not spoiled anymore. So in a dream, we could still have these jealousy. When we study, we analyze, we have Dhamma discussions, and we can see that, this person is someone who should be loved or he should be taken care of. And we should not get jealous. We should not jealous of this person or punish this person. So at the upper surface, we might think that this is not my enemy. This is my brother, my sister, my siblings. But in our dream, we can still get angry at this person. And there are certain dreams. It shows that we are still sad about this person, upset about this person. So in us, there are two energies within. The Buddha taught us that in us there are two hindrances to our path of practice. The first challenge is called sợ chi chướng, and the second challenge is called phiền não chướng. So the first hindrance or challenge, it has this quality, is more of intellectual, more theoretical. And the second hindrance is heavier in terms of the emotions. So the Buddha taught us that the first challenge is you can transform it faster than the second challenge. We say that, oh, this baby is your younger brother. You have to take care of your younger brother and let me take care of your brother. So we understand that and we're able to break down this first challenge, thinking that our brothers is our enemy. And that this brother is someone who took over our number one spot that we have enjoyed in the first few years of our life. For example, Thay loves us, and Thay might loves one person more, and then we might get jealous and we say, no, this is your younger sister. You should not get jealous of your younger sister. So we understand, but that we just understand it on the surface, psyche, but it has not go deep below and it has not meet this compassion and this, or it has not meet this resentful, this hatred or this sadness. So it has not meet this the suffering within us. So that is called the suffering hindrance. So don't think that the challenge on the intellect level, don't think that you have attained transformation. It's just transformation on the surface. So the full transformation is only attained when you go to the depth. In Buddhism, it's called changing chuyển y. Chuyển y is y means like the base, changing the foundation at the bottom. So that is a suffering that is at the bottom of us. That even if our intellects have break it down and we have this insight up at the surface, but if we don't bring that insight from the top all the way down to recognize and transform, then the hindrance of our suffering at the bottom is still the same. I have a lot of experience in this because of my deep looking, analyzing, and I see that the person who feel like it could be someone who caused me a lot of suffering, that could be a monk. but the person who caused that is myself. This person might seem so unpleasant like that, but that's just as a, is me. Even if this person had caused me so much suffering and instability, but that is still me. So in terms of intellect, I have accepted this person is me and this person is my brother and sister, and feel that I can love this person, that I won't hate this person. So I feel as if like my file on this person is closed. Like I'm done with this case. But 3-4 years later, I still have this dream that I'm still arguing with this person. So this is a case where the first hindrances in the intellect level has been broken, but not the bottom. So in the morning, when I saw this dream, then I see, oh my gosh, it's still all there. So then I practice and invite this up, invite all this up, and had to live a lot with this new insight, with this new understanding that, so that both of this can meet each other, can enter each other, blend into each other, and transform each other. Then only then we can attain transformation at the base. If not, then we can just only transform at the surface, and that's not enough. For example, when we do the fifth prostration, the fifth touching of the earth, and we sending our merit and our compassionate energy to the person who have caused us suffering, and then we might feel that I'm not mad at this person anymore. The person who had caused so much wreckage unto my family, myself, and my nation, and we feel that I could let it all go in my heart. It's all fine. I don't even need to do touching the earth anymore. And it could be that this is just only at the top layer of my psyche, but we have to continue to do it. Continue to do it in a way so that the top, the surface, the level, the insight at the top level to meet the bottom. So that insight is at the top level of intellect. We can see, we can accept, and we can forgive. So it's there. But the thing that we're still sad and angry and still have all these bleeding wounds is still all there at the bottom. So our practice is so that these two insights, these two blocks can be in touch. So once to go deeper or to invite it up. So there is a kind of working together over many days and years, so we can attain the desired results of the total transformation at the base. Some people say that we eat vegetarians for many years. So that dish, how can this dish ever even attract or desire me? But one day we dreamed that someone gave us that dish and it was so delicious. So that means our memory of the past is still there. That taste, that fragrance, and that enjoyment from the past is still there. And we thought that, I have gone beyond it, but we only go at the upper level. This is in the case where we are successful only halfway. But so how can we be 100% successful? There are those who are not 100% successful. So this author Nguyễn Thị Vũ, she wrote a story about this nun who did not practice successfully, maybe because of Sangha, or the teacher is not very good, and the nun was not able to transform much, and so she got sick and was about to die. And on her deathbed, she said, "Give me a spoon of fish sauce so I can drink it." I think this is a true story. And Nguyễn Thị Vũ has based a story based on a true story. When I read the story with the eyes of a, um, Buddhist teacher, then I can see it very clearly that maybe in our life of monastic practice, we might not be successful and we did not receive the true, the right teachings and do not have good friends on the path. We can be a monastic for 10, 12 years and with no transformation. And yet we leave behind our family, our brother, our sister, our mom, and all the sensual desires outside, all these delicious dish that, so in this representation, this is fish sauce. So in Vietnamese, we all know what fish sauce is. Fish sauce is present in all our cooking. Any Vietnamese food that does not have fish sauce, then it's not truly having the taste of Vietnam. So when the nun requests for a spoon of fish sauce, then of course, when we're very sick and we're about to die, our mouth tastes very bland. Before we die, we might want to taste something that is salty, and that fish sauce, it represents all of the sensual desires that we have left behind when we become monastic. So this is very sad. This short story say these very sad things, very pitiful. If we look deeply and we see this one detail, then we can see that this whole process of becoming monastics, this whole life has been a failure. She has not been successful in her practice. So she remembers and she regrets all the people she left behind, her family, and all these sensual desires she left behind. And maybe in this kind of half-awake state, so the intellect, it might not think that, but in the sad state, in the state of sickness and being weaker, half awake, then that regrets, it comes up. Sorry, correction. On the state where full awakeness, then the intellect part of us is more does not think so. But on the state of being half awake, when we're sick and tired and weak, then these block of sufferings, of deep suffering inside, they come up. And it thinks that nowadays, if I taste a spoon of fish sauce, it is something that is salty, savory. So we should know that the spoon of fish sauce is an ambassador, represent of everything that I have denied, everything I have left behind when I become a nun. So all the people surrounding the nun said, oh no, this is Mara. She has practiced her whole life, and yet at her last moment, if she drinks the fish sauce, then all her merits that she have accomplished in the past decades becomes just dissipate, becomes nothing. So that was the understanding, the perception of people around this nun who was about to die. They think there was from Mara. Mara is manifesting and asking for fish sauce, so Mara can destroy all of her accomplishments in the 10-15 years of being a nun. So in the perceptions of the people around her, and they think that the subject who is asking for this fish sauce is that wanting to destroy her accomplishments as a monastic. And so they did not want to bring the fish sauce to her. So when I read to that part, I was quite annoyed. If I was there, I would have brought the fish sauce to let her taste. And once she tastes, she could understand that this is way too salty. It has no attraction for me. because that craving is totally on this subjective part of the mind. It's just all through her imagination. Only when she's in touch with it, in contact with it, then we realize there's something very sour and salty. And if the nun was able to taste it and she can see the true nature, the true taste of fish sauce, then she can see what it was that she left behind. If the reaction like this is someone who practices meditations. So when we practice, when we become a monastic, our upper part, it might be going parallel with the monastic path 100%. From the ideals to happiness, to our Sangha, practicing, transforming, and we feel like I'm on such a right path. And that we have so much happiness that we can declare that in my next life, I will become a monk. And next life, I will become a nun too. And I even want to become a monastic, even a few years younger too. I feel as if everything has been resolved like in my whole heart. But we don't know that maybe at the bottom, there's the seeds of the opposite things. So this is in the case where we are successful in our practice, in our have success. Our complete success is when we go to the depth of our soul and we transform all these afflictions that we might not know they are there. We think that at the upper part it's like this, then the bottom part is like that too. But the lower part might be different. In Vietnam, we have this kind of ghost called metta. In the this is around the middle part the country. So metta is the ghost that only comes at night, and it only go with just its head and its stomach, and it go around to look, but it leaves the rest of its body behind. So before sunrise, it has to come back, and it can go back to and put everything together to become a ghost again. So we are the same. We have two people in us, a person who lives with the Sangha and who lives with society, and another person who lives alone in his or her dream, in these moments of loneliness or despair. And these two parts, they don't go together. This is in Buddhist psychology. It has said very clearly. Don't think that the upper part, that we are just only the upper part. We are also the lower part. And most of our afflictions, and all our oppositions, our irritations, our resistance, and our suffering, it comes from these two parts don't go together. We felt that we are being pulled apart. And our practice in Buddhism is to bring these two parts to come together, to connect and create a flow in between these two parts. A penetration in between the two parts. We know that blood in our circulation in our body When it doesn't flow well, then we develop illness, all kind of illnesses, because we lack the blood circulation. So that's why we practice sport, we run, we massage to help the blood to circulate in our body better, to heal and many illnesses. In Plum Village, Mr. Hua always reminds us that we have to do this. This is very good. But in terms of psychology, it's the same. In our psyche, there are certain parts that are stagnant, that are blocked. And these stagnant parts, they cause, it become poisonous. So we don't feel happy, we don't feel good, and we just live just only with the upper part of us only. But we do not create this flow, this penetration within our whole psyche. There's good circulation in our psyche. So if we want to practice smartly, we have to see this. For example, we have this worry, this fear. And this worry and fear is buried deep down here. And we do not want to think about it. If we think about it, it feels so unpleasant. For example, we're afraid of being lonely. We're afraid of being left behind. All of us, we have the seeds within us. We're afraid of getting old. We're afraid of dying. We're afraid of being lonely, afraid of being left behind. That fear is present in all of us. When two people love each other, and one person might just be so fearful that how long this person will love me for. And then she keep ask him, do you still love me? And each day she has to remind him a few times like that so that she can feel more secure. So she live in this insecurity, in this fear. And the Buddha sees this very clearly. For example, our fear. We know very well that with our insight, that of course we have to die, we have to get old, and of course we have to get sick. And when we old, when we sick, what is it like? If we're young, we can still do manual labor, we can smile, we can help this person or that, and that person help us. But when we're old, we cannot do anything, who would help us? We would be lonely. And that's kind of things that we do not want to think about. Because if we think about it, just feels so tired and we don't think about it, that means we push it down to the depth, to a corner in our psyche. And because we don't touch it, we don't let it exercise in us, so it becomes stagnant. That part of psyche becomes stagnant, and that is what causes illness. Even if we practice with the right method, but if we only practice half-hearted, then we won't be successful. For example, if we have get mad at someone, or we have hated someone, but because of the right Dhamma, the teachings, our teachers and our friends, then we can look deeply and see this person also suffer, also the same boat as me. So then we feel that, oh, we can live together, we can survive. We do not let that anger cause us so much trouble. But that block of anger and resentment, that wound is still down there. And yet we thought, oh, it's not there anymore. Until one day you dream. Because when our body does not feel fresh or cool or healthy, so that seed will comes up And we see that in us, we still have this opposition or this argument with that person. So when we wake up, then we know that our practice has not go to the depth yet. And our insight can only resolve the intellect, the hindrance at the intellect level, but not at the emotional in the depth. So we have to invite that wounds from the depth so that we can work together to come up and to sit and to work together and to resolve. We know that when we mix the flour or when we make coffee, we have two things. It's just hot water or cold water with the coffee powder. And sometimes we stir the coffee, but we have this clump of powder, and it does not dissipate. So this means that we are not successful. So the secret here is so that we can put the water. It can penetrate all these powder, so then we become this liquid. So this is the same. If we have a little bit of wisdom, but if this wisdom has not go all the way to the depth and cannot break apart this block of affliction within, then we cannot say we are successful, that we can say that I have transformed. We only just survive, but we have not transformed yet. We can only just smile. So the Buddha taught us the 5 remembrance. So to help us, this is a very good example in the way of the Buddha's teaching methods. So the Buddha knows that in the depth of a psyche, that we have these worries or this fear, worry about dying, about getting sick, getting old. And these 5 remembrances of the Buddha is like this.